This is the Horror Obsessed podcast. I am Sarah.
And Teresa.
And KT Horror.
Hell
Horror.
yeah. Horror.
Horror. Not horror.
And Teresa goes by T-Terror now, and I've not chosen a name, so I am the Horror Obsessed. All right, so there's going to be some heavy editing in this.
It's the pilot episode, yay!
The pilot episode! I don't even have music for this yet, so that's going to be another thing we got to find eventually. But, okay, so the first thing is everybody needs to get to know us. We're 3 of the 5 admins for the Facebook group, The Horror Obsessed. We are creating the podcast because we all went to Texas Frightmare and they had an amazing podcast called Shockwaves, and that helped inspired me to say, fuck yeah, we're going to do that. So
yeah, we listened to it all the way home from Texas to St. Louis, so pretty telling that we were inspired.
Definitely. Let's start with T-Terror. What are your top 3 horror films?
Interesting. No, because they have all the things on.
Those are like my favorites.
So yeah, Repo.
Oh yeah, so Repo the Genetic Opera, because it's got lots of gore and it's a musical. Who doesn't like a gore and a musical in one movie?
What should buy? Midnight Meat Train.
Midnight Meat Train is just awesome.
Hellraiser.
Or Candyman. That was
Candyman.
my mom's favorite scary movie, and that is one that got me into scary movies, was Candyman.
So it was like passed down generation to generation.
She liked that, and she loved all those like 80s horror movies, which is why Basket Case. Like, I think I played 3 or 4 of those tapes till they got ruined. Like, played them until they wouldn't play anymore.
Nice.
I'm a
It's
big
not like
fan
it
of like
looked
all the
much
shorts too. Shorts are my favorite. And I love like Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, Outer Limits.
All right, KT Hoarder. Hoarder.
Hoarder?
Hoarder.
Hoarder of what?
I didn't drink anything tonight. I'm just saying. All right, KT Horror, your top 3 horror films.
Top 3 horror. The first one isn't Hellraiser, which is weird because that's the tattoo that I have. But I would say the top one would be The Signal, and that was from 2007. Some people are probably going to know what this is because that's our target audience. But for the people who don't know what it is about a radio signal that comes through televisions and radios and pretty much anything that puts out airwaves, right? And it tells a story from 3 different perspectives. So you've got the perspective of a female protagonist, you have a male protagonist, and you also have neutral parties. Their perspective is a groupthink. So that's probably my favorite horror movie that I've ever seen. The second one would be franchise, and it's Hellraiser, of course. That's been around for a long time. I bought a copy of The Hellbound Heart when I was probably too young to even know what half of that stuff meant. So I just kind of snowballed from there. And top 3. The third one?
Can we just say it's Twin Peaks? Because I feel like the entirety of Twin Peaks is...
It's not... I mean, we just watched Escape from Tomorrow or whatever, and that's super Lynchian and weird, and like, what if this guy's just going freaking crazy? Which he was. Sorry, guys. Spoiler alert. This guy just goes nuts. What's that? Oh, there's something on my face.
There you go.
Oh, it's a skin tag.
Oh, okay.
Kenny's sister did that to me too. She's like, you have some on your face. I'm like, I know, it's new. I can't get it off my face.
It looked like a piece of like rock candy or something,
Yeah,
like from far away.
It's like weird. I need to get it frozen off or something.
I use nail clippers.
Yeah, me too.
It hurts for a brief
That's what we
second
do
and
at the
bleeds a
doctor's
lot.
office, too.
Oh, gross. I'm like, can I just get my face numbed and like put a shot in there and like just scrape it off and I don't feel it? That'd be great. Like, I don't want to mess with it by myself. But
Well, that was exciting to put on here.
I have a skin tag. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
It's on her face though. That's where it's catching us. Like, we were totally okay until we were like, what is that? Is it you got something?
I have the full story of how this thing developed, and it's too, like, I don't know. We're on a horror podcast, so
Go for it.
Is it just body horror if I tell you about like how my skin tag was just this blood blister, and every time I like touched my face wrong, it would just start gushing blood, and I was like, oh, awesome! Like, I'm in one of these creepy films. Like, is this just like a quarter life crisis like happening that's just dripping down my face? And then one day I woke up and it was like, no, you're just gonna see me for like the rest of your life, or until you get it removed and whatever. Like
Okay.
it's there.
So if you don't want to count Twin Peaks as your third,
I don't, because Twin Peaks is its own entity. Like
it really is.
that's another podcast. But anyway, the third one would probably have to be The Exorcist.
Good choice.
And it's only because I saw it in a theater in my history of film class. And that was the first time I ever saw it was in a theater. Like, that's how you're supposed to see it. And I think it was my mom that told me the story about how her and my aunt, and my aunt is just like the most girly girl that you could ever meet in your life. And I would not expect her. She's also an angel, so you don't expect her to like things like that. And that's absolutely true. She hates it all. She walked out of Alien. She walked out of The Exorcist. And like, my mom's like, what the fuck, bitch? Like, we're trying to watch this great film. But yeah, I think she actually followed her because she's a good jerk. But yeah, I watched The Exorcist for the first time in a theater, and that was dope. And I will never forget it. And I met Linda Blair, and she's cool. Like,
I read that Linda Blair is going to be at Crypticon in Kansas City. So for those of you, if some of you are going to Kansas City shortly, Linda Blair should be part of that panel. T. Terror had a third.
Oh yeah, so I totally forgot about High Tension. I love that movie. Like,
I haven't
to
seen
me,
that in forever.
one of the biggest things about a movie is when I can get to the end and not see it coming. I'm somebody that sits there and calls the movies. I'm like, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. And that one, till the end, I didn't know it was gonna happen, and it surprised me, and I loved it. And it had just enough gore.
That's freaking sweet. So my top three: The Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. I watched it so many times I can nearly quote the entire thing. Toolshed. And I've watched the commentaries so much that it inspired me to want to become a horror film director. And so I've been trying real hard to write scripts and trying real hard to get people together. When you're in the Midwest, when you have no money, it is nearly impossible. But it's not a dream killer yet. I'm still going to try for it. I'm still going to try my best. Let's see. Movie number 2, probably Friday the 13th original. I just love, spoiler alert, I love the twist ending. There is a twist ending. You expect it to be Jason as the killer the whole time, and it happens to be his mom. That is a spoiler alert if you've never seen the series. And if you haven't seen the series by now, I am so sorry. My third favorite horror film, probably The Monster Squad. It is like, if you're a young child and you need to be introduced to all of the Universal monsters all at once in the best way, it is the best film. And another wonderful quoted line, Wolfman's got nards! It's my favorite line on the whole freaking movie. And I have to say that it is absolutely wonderful, and you can't compare to it. I mean, it has the creepy old German dude. It has the young little girl as the virgin who has to say the lines, but she can't say the lines because she doesn't understand Latin or German or whatever it is. And it is just so great. And also, Andre Glauer is on my Twitter feed, and he messages me all the time when I mention the Monster Squad or when I talk about how I've watched it a gazillion times. So, and he's the main boy, the very first boy in the entirety of it, the one that kicks ass and takes names later.
I actually have a question in regard to that. So,
yeah.
What's everyone's childhood horror? What's the one that you watched as a kid that turned you onto it immediately? Because I grew up on little kid horror, so 90s, R.L. Stine was the pinnacle, right? You had the original Goosebumps series. You had Are You Afraid of the Dark on Nickelodeon, and you get into the 2000s, and you meet Jonathan Lipnicki and the little vampire. I was obsessed with Jonathan Lipnicki from Jerry, because we're the same age. So from Jerry Maguire onward, I was just this dude, and he's gonna be in KC in at the end of the month, and I'm damn, I want to go to Days of the Dead so bad.
Oh, I thought Days of the Dead was in Indianapolis.
Oh, it is in Indianapolis. All right, I'm tripping. So yeah.
Days of the Dead is in several different cities, but in late June, it's supposed to be in Indianapolis. I'm trying to keep up with all these conventions. I want to go to all of them, but dear God, the money cost would just, it had to be a job of its own. It really would. My childhood started out with the Universal monsters. My dad started me with Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, literally at the age of 3. He tried to scare us. He came down the steps, and the steps were right behind the couch in front of the TV. And my middle brother and I were sitting on the couch, and my dad got this Wolfman mask. He melted half of it, and he comes down, and right at the scene as the Wolfman's hand with the pentacle hits the full moonlight, and he starts transforming, my dad jumped out behind the couch, and he goes, "Rah!" My little brother about pissed himself. He ran and hid. I laughed so hard, and that's when my dad knew I was the special kid, that I would love horror more than any others. Ever since then, every Halloween, he dressed me up as a zombie or Phantom of the Opera, any of those. But yes, R.L. Stein's Goosebumps. I read as many as freaking possible. I went into the Fear Street a little bit, read some of those R.L. Stein's teeny bopper horrors.
Oh, what was the one that I liked so much? I might actually still have it. It was like the Fear Street Saga. They had like 5 of them from like the original, like how Fear Street came to be, you know, the Fear family and everything. I do. R.L. Stein signed them for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt.
Elvira.
So,
I mean, come on. These were the things that we grew up with. These were the people that told us horror was the best.
Oh, what was the 13th? Was it the Friday the 13th TV show?
The series.
There was a series, yes.
Where they had to look for the hidden artifacts and stuff.
I was way too little to be watching it at the time, and I had to stay up and watch Three Stooges afterwards. So I didn't have nightmares.
So that you'd have like happy dreams.
Happy dreams, yes. But I loved that. And book-wise, I read all the Goosebumps, but I really like There Was Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Yes!
I did my birthday is on the 13th, and so I have every once in a while I get Friday the 13th birthdays, and we did a whole birthday party with the spaghetti brains, and
you were so lucky.
And I can't remember like which movies really pulled me in. I do remember begging my mom for my 7th birthday to sneak me into the drive-in to watch Nightmare on Elm Street. And she did, and I loved it, and I was so scared to take a bath for like 3 months afterwards. I was afraid he was gonna like pull me in the tub, but that's what really got me going. And then when the Hellraiser movies came out, I think that was the final I love scary movies.
Nail in the coffin.
These are great.
Literal nails.
Yes.
Oh my God, yeah. So the other part of this segment that I wanted to do is movies that we watched recently. Now, since this is our first podcast, we can go back as far as we want, but I would say Texas Frightmare on. So Texas Frightmare is always the first weekend in May. So basically, movies you've watched from the first weekend in May till June 2nd. That's almost freaking month. Actually, it is a month. I don't know why I thought it was almost.
Why am I still in mourning over this convention?
I know, right?
I haven't felt this sad since Twin Peaks Festival 16.
Texas Frightmare, first time horror convention for all 3 of us.
It was my 3rd.
Oh, okay, sorry. Katie Horror's 3rd horror convention, but it's
been 5 years.
Yeah, like seriously, Texas Frightmare, I have never felt so alive, never felt so loved and adored and in place.
Yeah,
like everything about that, I walked around like I owned the place.
People thought you worked for the convention. They were like, "Do you want to pass, dude?" And I was like, "Pass." Like, it was so cool.
It was amazing. I went there to meet Kane Hodder. That was my number 1 choice. I got a tattoo on my leg of Friday the 13th Jason from part 7 with the chains around his neck, the whole 9. I talked to Kane Hodder for just like 3 minutes. He gives me a hug and he says, "When are you coming to see are you coming for the photo shoot?" And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't really afford it." And he goes, "Show up anyway. Tell them I told you could come." And when I got there, I got a free photo shoot with him and Ken Kerslinger, the other Friday the 13th, Jason, I want to say part 4, but I'll have to look that up again because, oh my gosh, I can't remember all of them. But the whole Jason line was there. The whole Jason line. Everybody that was there. And they had a Betsy Palmer lookalike. The mom. They had someone who looked just like Betsy Palmer there. It wasn't her, but it was a cosplayer, and she got the photo shoot with all of them behind her. Remember? You pointed that out. You pointed that out to me. So, yeah, that was my favorite experience at Texas Frightmare, was getting a free photo shoot with Kane Hodder, the most amazing actor slash stunt director, everything. He does everything. He's just fucking amazing. All right, your favorite experience? We totally skipped segments.
My favorite experience was definitely meeting Cloud. That's the whole reason I went. As soon as I saw he was going. But if you look at all the movies I like The Midnight Meat Train and Candyman and Hellraiser, that's why. And I like to read. I like all of his books. Weave World was the first book I ever read of his, and it's probably one of the best, and I've reread that so many times I can't even count.
The book that she brought with us was so worn out.
It was like an original printing. And I was like, everyone's gonna shit when you like show up in line with this book, and everyone shit. They were like, oh my god, and it's an original printing. Like you were telling the story. It's like, dude, I should have waited in line for 4 hours.
Yeah, no, that was definitely the best experience, and I would have waited in line for like 10 hours. I had a whole day just for him, so that's what it took. So, and I did buy the last copy that they had of Weave World to get signed instead of getting my terribly torn up old book signed. But
dude, if you got your old one signed, you should have put it in a glass case, like at that point. Yeah, like the collectors, like where they put the fucking baseballs inside.
I want to seriously get a case for my book. Yes, I'm trying to determine right now whether I want to read the one that he signed or not. Yeah. Or whether I just want to put it up and never touch it.
Now, as a side note, I did have a celebrity from Wizard World sign a Blu-ray copy of The Evil Dead for me. Bruce Campbell was my first celebrity signing, and he touched my hand. And he told me to follow my dreams and to make horror films. So I mean, come on, Bruce Campbell said to. You gotta do it. So your favorite experience, KT?
My favorite experience at Tech Frightmare was meeting Matthew Lillard 2 days in a row. And the first day, it was me and, what are you going as right now?
Sarah's fine.
Just Sarah. Okay, so me and Sarah are in line. She's wearing my hat, right? And so, you know, whatever, you gotta wear your hat for the Matthew Lillard pictures. I'm like, okay, dope. So she shows up and she hands me my hat. And we go through the line, and I'm like, naturally, I'm gonna pick out the Twin Peaks photo, right? Because he's in Twin Peaks The Return. And I'm like, all right, I already have this picked out. He's gonna have one. And with Billy Zane, I did the same thing. Like, John Justice Wheeler, like, I picked that print immediately. He talked to me about David Lynch for like a million years, and I was so stoked. Thank you, Billy Zane. But Matthew Lillard, I was super struck with the side-facing, like, profile photo of him with the blue mohawk and SLC Punk, and it doesn't look like, it wasn't like a promotional photo, it wasn't like anything in the movie, like, he was just looking down, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I take it, and I hand him this picture, and he doesn't even really say much about it. He's just doodling all over it. Like, he drew a dick on his own forehead, and like he drew the anarchy sign, and then he signed it, and like drew a whole bunch of other little weird, like, inappropriate doodles, and he's just shooting the shit with us. And Sarah just goes, I know Katie's drawing a blank right now. And I was like, I so my god. And I'm freaking out. She's like, I know Katie's drawing a blank right now, but what's your favorite movie that you've ever made? And he points down at the picture, and he's like, No Contest. And I went, no shit. So like, SLC Punk, for the record, is Matthew Lillard's favorite film he's ever made.
Now don't forget, he also told you that shot was a candid shot.
Yeah, it was a Polaroid or something. Like, someone just took a picture of him doing that. So
he was off screen, and he was like drinking and taking a smoke or something.
He told me he was running lines.
Oh yeah, running lines, that's what it was.
He was, I have no idea what else he was doing. It was like 1993, so I don't know your life, but like, yeah, running lines, you know, it could be many things. Running lines of what? But yeah.
He's a super dope dude, though, so he probably was sober.
I don't care what he was running lines of. It was great because he was fantastic. And I met him 2 days in a row. And the second day I had like this Elvira bump in my hair. I didn't use a bump it, so like, fuck you. This is my whole hair. It took like an hour to do. But he like hugs me and shit, and he's like, when's prom? Let's go to prom together. And I just went, all right. Matthew Lillard just asked me to prom. Like, this was worth every dime of my money to meet Matthew Lillard.
By the way, we're all over college age, so like, there's no prom. We're gonna have to make one up for Matthew Lillard.
It's been like 8 years, so there's that. that. But yeah, freaking, he was dope. That was probably, like, every moment with him was probably my favorite.
When he took my camera.
And he took our picture.
That is awesome.
There's a picture of Sarah and myself taken by Matthew Lillard.
Like, he freaking, it was hilarious. Okay, so I jumped in the line, gave her the hat, and the only reason I was in the line was purely to take the selfies for her. Apparently, I'm really good at
I know.
selfies.
Next year we're gonna
And
all go
I just
together and
have to follow everyone and take
'cause my
selfies for
are
everyone.
terrible.
Next year we're getting VIP.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're
yes.
all going for the VIP next year, so we're going to like be able to skip lines and shit. We're gonna like save for all the signatures. We're gonna go fucking nuts by going to the parties. We're gonna meet the celebrities and hang and chill and drink and do whatever it is that they do. Because it's gonna be fucking awesome, and we want that. And it was great because Matthew Lillard grabbed my camera, took a picture of us. Then I was able to take pictures with him. Then he hugged me and had someone else take the picture. And it was freaking sweet. I wasn't even in line for any of it. And he totally did it. It was great. Now, another one is that I got a free selfie from Barbara Wild. And it was an accidental free selfie, so I do apologize. But basically what happened was I went in line just to talk to her because she played the female Cenobite in the Hellraiser series. And she's still gorgeous. At what, like 65, 70 years old, whatever it is. She's amazingly gorgeous, very outgoing, super, super bright and bubbly. And I was just going to ask her, like, how are you doing? I really appreciate what you've done for the films and all that. And then she had me come across, and then she like made the other person take the selfies for me. And then I just walked away, and I posted it and then deleted them. Per request. But, they're posted first, though. So, they're out there, sorry. But she is amazing. She did like it on my Instagram. It was awesome. Texas Frightmare is awesome, amazing. Even when they got their Camp Crystal Lake sign stolen, it was returned to them nearly the next day. And it was a very filled drama thing where, like, it was like, who the hell would even take this sign? It's a massive ass sign, and like everybody wanted them to be banned and stuff, but it was supposed to be some sort of little joke, and they brought it back immediately, thankfully. It's so lighthearted. Like, the people there they're not Nazi-like. They're not going to sit there. Yeah, they're definitely not St. Louis.
We were the hardest people there. Like, I remember us going past the freaking Taco Bueno in Oklahoma, like, blessing freaking Post Malone. And there were people just, like, looking at us, stoplights and shit. And it was like, I want to go up there. Just like, let's roll the windows down a little more.
So, apparently St. Louis is just a little bit harder than Oklahoma. In general. But okay, so movies from the past couple weeks that I've watched a lot more than these girls. They have, like actual working lives. I literally do nothing but manage the website and work, and my job is pretty much just answering phones, so I watch films in between. My horror films that I watched recently, The Girl with All the Gifts. And I want to talk about this one right off the bat because, oh my god, it turned out to be amazing. It's a zombie film, and it's about these kids that have this fungus that's already in their stream, in their bodies, in their brain. And the fungus is what makes them these zombies that want to eat flesh. Now, the fungus has taken over a majority of the adult world already, and the children seem to be functional as long as they put on this cream that makes the smell of them go away, like the human adults that don't have the fungus in them. And what's really cool is this one girl is focused on, and she seems to be more intelligent than the rest of them. She seems to catch on a lot quicker, and no spoilers, but she thinks she does the right thing, and it kills a lot of people. And it turns out that she ends up actually saving the freaking planet, like, in a crazy way. The ending is was not what you will expect. It's way different, but it was awesome. Like, I don't know how to express how cool of a film that actually was. The next film that I watched was Wish Upon. Wish Upon, it was one of those films where I started out where I was like, I'm not even sure I want to keep watching this. Like, every time she made a wish, someone would die. Every time she made a wish, another person would die. And I was just like, this just sucks. Like, it wasn't even like, the deaths were so, like, gruesome at times. And I was like, whoa. And she would almost instantly find out about the deaths, which was really, yeah, the Chinese music box. Yeah. And what was really cool was like the Chinese boyfriend dude. He wanted to be the boyfriend. He was fawning over the whole time, and she was oblivious. And in the end, he turned out to be like the best part of the whole film. It was really cool. The ending, totally not what you're gonna expect. It's not a happy ending. It's not a sad ending. It's just the ending that needed to happen. That's really what it was. The ending that needed to happen. I recently also watched The Town That Dreaded Sundown, the 2014. I guess it's like a sequel because they actually play The Town That Dreaded Sundown 71 version in the movie. So I don't know if it was like meant to be a sequel or meant to be a remake or reboot or something, but it was really slow at first, not bad at all. A decent horror film, but it just felt a little draggy. Like, too much research was being done, not enough storyline, not enough of our slasher film kind of feel to it. And it was a slasher film. It was meant to be a slasher film. So it didn't have all that was necessary. The ending was super predictable too. Unfortunately, I do have to say that it was super predictable. The Belko Experiment, I want a fucking sequel. Oh my god. So, if you've watched The Cabin in the Woods, it's like the epitome of the horror film fans' like favorite film. You have a bunch of people go into the woods and you find out later that they actually just have boxes and boxes of monsters that they just deploy at different times, and you're like, oh my god, this is where all the stories come from. Yeah. Oh my god. So The Cabin in the Woods kind of gave you this feel that there was these different areas like Japan, Europe, America had to sacrifice people to appease the old gods. With the Belko Experiment, they don't explain what the experiments are for, but there's only one person allowed to win. They lock you up and they set you guys on like this adventure of like you have to kill or be killed. And these are office workers and they've worked there for a year. They get these freaking implants in the back of their head so that the country that they're in doesn't steal them and they can be tracked or whatever, supposedly. Later you find out that's not the case. Yeah, I haven't seen that, but I heard.
We just finished it. It's super good.
So with the Belko Experiment, the very ending, and this is a spoiler, I'm sorry, but it's a spoiler. The very ending is a screen of every single country that the Belko company is in, where all the buildings were locked down and one survivor from each of them. So it sets itself up for the perfect sequel. Perfect. And I don't think we're going to get it. I think they're going to just drop it on us. Alright, so I'm going to skip the next one because I think T-Tear is going to talk with me about A Cure for Wellness, so we're going to do that one in a moment. The Greasy Strangler. I heard this one on a podcast and I had to watch it because I was like, holy shit, it's on Amazon. So I watched it. Let me tell you something. You want to watch the most Z-rated film ever? This is disgusting. It is horrible and you see so much dick in it. And like it's ridiculous. The Greasy Strangler is this dad-like figure that is obsessed with grease. He has to have it on all his food. He has to have it everywhere. He makes his own. It's like so gross. So gross. And then anytime someone pisses him off, he greases himself up head to toe, completely butt naked, and he goes and he strangles that person to death. And you're like, what the fuck am I watching? But I had to watch the whole film. I had to. And the ending is just so fucked up. The son and the dad fight over this woman in the film. The woman originally was attracted to the son. The son's like, I think my dad's the Greasy Strangler and I need your help to find out if he is. And she like falls in love with the dad anyway. And then they have sex a bunch of times. And then it's just fucking ridiculous. But in the end, and they kill her, both of them, as the Greasy Stranglers. They both become the Greasy Stranglers, and then they're prancing in the woods, strangling people in the woods, prancing, and then they watch themselves die by a firing range as the Greasy Stranglers, watching their human bodies get shot, and then they go prancing off in the woods again. And if you ever want to see something totally like just what the fuck, this is that film. Both of my friends recommended I watch Basket Case over and over and over, and I finally found it on, I think it was Shudder, and it was freaking weird. Awesome, but weird. So, like, it starts out with this kid with a basket, and the kid has, like, the hugest fro in the world, and he goes to this nurse's office.
You know.
The whitest kid you know, biggest fro ever. And he just walks into the nurse's office, and he's, like, sitting there with the basket moves a little, and he's just, like, Google eyes the nurse, just like, oh, she's so cute, oh my god. But she's, like, wearing a really bad wig. Like, you can see the seam and everything. It was horrible. But, so, like, he falls in love with the nurse lady. And later he comes in and he kills the doctor. And then there's the backstory. The backstory was beautiful. And let me tell you, with the kid that they used for Dwayne as the kid was sexy. He looked great. Like, with shorter hair. He did wonderful. Don't give that guy a fro. The basket creature, Belial, was the Siamese twin. I am spoiling the shit out of this film.
So the pilot for this episode is called the most spoiler-heavy pilot you've ever heard.
Spoiler alert. That's actually going to be the beginning. I'm just going to put spoiler alert.
We spoil every film. So if we mention the title of the movie, let's get that right.
But Basket Case is totally worth it. There's a couple tiny little slow spots that make you sit there and you're like, okay, what are we doing here? What's going on? And then suddenly something happens, and it's totally worth it. And then the people in the hotel, I don't know how to explain them, but they are so rambunctious. Like, at first you're like,
so rambunctious.
They really fucking are.
Way to put like some of them those vile people you've ever seen.
But, like, every time they heard a noise, they came running towards it. I'm like, what fucking hotel is this? Like, there's noises in this room. Let's all run to the room. Like, nobody does that in real life. If they hear those kind of noises, they're going to be like,
that should include too.
that's true. It was very cheesy in Clue too. So I'm going to pass this out because I've read off like 10 films already. I still have like 6 more to go. But T. Terry, your turn.
Alright, so I only have one movie today. I've been slacking on my movie watching, but I just watched. I don't know if it's double X or if it's just XX. I'm not really sure.
I think it goes by XX.
Is it XX?
Yeah.
So there's 4 horror shorts in a movie.
All created by women.
And I was so excited because I love little horror shorts, and I was really, really excited. But I think they were trying a little too hard just to be weird. The first little episode was called The Box, and it had so much potential, and like the whole time I'm sitting there, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen, this is gonna be so great, this is awesome. And then it ended, and nothing happened. And I was kind of sad. And then there was like one scene in the middle, I guess if we're spoiling everything, and so the mom has no idea what's going on in this whole story. Like, everybody else is just not eating. They see this Christmas box, and this little boy looks in it, and after he looks in the box, he stops eating. And then he tells his sister what was in the box, and she stops eating. And then the sister tells the dad what was in the box, and he stops eating. Never did they tell us what was in the box. And there's a scene where the whole family is sitting down eating the mom, but then they go away from the scene, and you never see that again, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the story, and they were not cannibals, and I don't really know where that scene came from. It was just kind of random. And then the next episode was the birthday party, and these were all really good quality, good acting, good, makeup. Everything was awesome, but it really didn't have a point. Like, there was just this dead body, and this lady moves it, and then they find the body, and then it was over. And I don't know, the whole thing was like this. The third one,
Please
I really liked.
To your films, please.
Like, there's just nothing. Like, you're waiting for these endings. Everything starts out awesome, and they just all kind of ended. The third one I did like. It was probably the scariest of them all. It's called The Fall, so I'm not going to ruin that one. I will let you guys actually watch that because I thought it was pretty decent. And I don't know. So overall, had so much potential that they just didn't follow through with.
You also watched Veronica.
Oh, I did watch Veronica, but I was really ambient out, and I don't honestly remember a lot of what
Okay,
happened.
Roseanne.
I know, right?
I had an Ambien-fueled movie night.
T-Terror is not racist, though.
Yes, not racist. I just can't sleep. And and I have a really, really, really hard time with subtitles because my ADD just goes crazy, and all I can do is read the subtitles, and I don't watch the movies. But this one I really liked. Like, I had no problems with the subtitles. I really enjoyed the movie, and I said I can't really say too much more about it because I was definitely half asleep. But I do remember liking it and thinking, gosh, I should rewatch this and recommend it to my friends. So I will give it a thumbs up, and that's all I have for right now.
KT.
I am super slacking on all this. I don't have anything like new to contribute, but we've been like rewatching things.
Definitely.
And a couple of the things that, I wanted to watch Salem's Lot tonight, and I've seen it a couple times, but
it costs money.
Yeah, that caused some drama in my family, so like we ain't finna talk about. But one thing that I rewatched and I introduced Kenny, my husband, to was the new series of The Outer Limits, and that was from the 90s, and it was the pilot episode, which was a two-parter called The Sand King, and that dude from the older guy from Bloodline was in it, and he had like a ponytail. It was like 1990 whatever. Oh, what was his name? But he was in it, and he played like a mad scientist kind of guy who like harvested this Martian soil, and it had little alien beings in it, and he decided, I'm gonna take these little alien motherfuckers and I'm gonna evolve them, and he made like his own kingdom of them. This Beau Bridges. I was like, it won't.
I like
Jeff Bridges
name.
Jeff Bridges is Escape from New York. Let's get this right. And he's on the back of my Carpenter Fest shirt, and I wore it to my corporate job, and everyone was like, why do you have Jeff Bridges on your back?
That's not Jeff Bridges.
Who is it? It's Kurt Russell.
It's Kurt Russell.
Yes, I was going to say, I thought you had Kurt Russell on your shirt.
Okay, so I get these
the
guys.
Bridges you were thinking of is the dude.
I get these guys confused more often than I care to admit, and I have no idea why, because they're two totally different guys.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what it is, but I've done this before. Like, I swear to God, I don't know what it is between their faces, but that happens to me naturally, and I have no idea why. You guys might be related, so you know. Check your ancestry DNA kit for a result. But anyway, The Sand Kings, we watched that recently, and that was really good. And we've also been watching, at Texas Frightmare Weekend, I've been trying to, like, watch really old horror movies, and just to, kind of catch up on anything I missed, but also rewatch a bunch of things. And we rewatched The Addams Family for like hours and hours and hours on end. It's on Hulu.
The original 70s.
And like the newest movie I've really watched is tonight. We watched Escape from Tomorrow, and it was this like really artsy fartsy, like it said they get taken into a Lynchian realm in Disneyland, and I was like, well, we need to watch this movie because David Lynch. And so I turned this shit on, and I can feel this dad's pain through the whole movie. Like, it's not even really like super scary. It's totally like a cerebral delusional concept. Like, if I were to go nuts and I were at Disneyland, this is probably exactly what would happen. And if I were like a white dude with 2 kids and a bitchy wife and a dad bod, this is like literally y'all live. No offense, but like
I figured they were like hinting towards like daddy issues too with him.
yeah, and it was creepy, and it was like, I don't know, like I don't want to give it away because it's going to give away a whole bunch of shit, and I don't want to be spoiler alert, damn it. But
Definitely not on this one. This was newer.
But this was so new and so fresh that as you're walking through this theme park with this man and his family, his tension on his face, like the fake smiles, and like all the kids are having fun. Why don't you take this kid? I'll take that kid. Like all of these little tiny things. That's what made me scared. And I'm laughing at parts of it because the parts that are outrageous, it's like, man, I wish that death would just take me. Like, that's why this guy freaking dies. Oh, spoiler alert. but does he?
Yeah.
No, he
Okay.
does. Like, his version of the afterlife is like white boy heaven. He has like this exotic, like
Pocahontas.
of color, but like you can't really tell what color she is or like what nationality she is. She looks really ambiguous just as a person.
But she's way into him.
But she's super into him, and like his wife isn't, and the kids are like accepting, and it's weird. And
But both kids were not accepting. So the son was taken out of the dream world, and they kept the daughter.
that's right. They kept the daughter in the dream world, and the son stuck with the mom on Earth. And so when the guy's in the bathroom like, I'm sick, I need help, the kid was just like, fuck you, and he shut the door. You're not gonna ruin my vacation. And I was like, damn, child.
So spoilers on that one anyway.
Why it's called spoiler alert? Like,
yeah, we're just gonna have to worry.
Literally every time you hear a title, you better shut that shit off if you want to watch it yourself.
I'll make a list in our YouTube aspect of it of all the titles. So if you feel necessary to watch these before listening to this, please do, because that shit is going to be spoiled.
Yeah. Everything that we don't care about enough to fuck with your life.
Have either of you guys watched the Contracted movies? I've watched those recently. And
I
that's what I
haven't
was thinking
seen
about.
those.
No, I haven't
So
seen
I was just thinking about when you were saying sequel needed. So I watched the Contracted movies, the first and second one. I just rewatched them. Love them. Absolutely 100% love them. I love any kind of virus movies. I mean, I'm a science teacher, so I love stuff like that. I love diseases, and those are my favorite, like outbreak movies, especially when they have zombies or creatures or something in it.
Yeah.
And the only bad part is there's the first one, and it leaves you ready for the second one, and the second one picks right up where the first one leaves off. And then the second one leaves off, and they left it totally open to make a third movie, and there's not going to be a third movie. I have done lots of reading into it, and there's not going to be a third movie, and it is so terrible. So it's almost like don't watch the second one because you're going to want another one, and you're not going to get it. But I don't know. They were fantastic.
On that note, also, there is a Russian series called Night Watch and Day Watch. There was a third book that helped explain those two movies. Never going to get made into a movie. So, yeah, our broken hearts for those sequel trequels, and
we're not going to get.
We're just not going to get them. So the other film that I wanted to talk about was A Cure for Wellness. Wow. Okay, so I did not expect this to be a horror-esque film. It just didn't feel like it was going to be. And then it went down the rabbit hole. Like, it fucking went down. Like, so the main character is the guy that plays on Valerian. So, like, the really round face but kind of cute guy.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. But he plays the main character. He has to take his corporate life up into the hills of Bulgaria or Germany or something. They all speak German up there, so somewhere of that sort, maybe even Belgium. But he has to go find his boss, Pembroke. And when he gets there, they say, he doesn't want to leave, he doesn't want to talk to you, or he can't talk to you, whatever the case is. And on the way back to town to get some cell reception, because there's no cell reception up there, he gets into a car accident, and the wellness center takes him back up to there to treat him, to take care of him, make him feel better. The craziness is, like, the little girl that's there, and you're watching and you're thinking, why is there a little girl here when, like, everybody's 50, 60 years old? But, like, they don't talk too much about it. And then we go into the mystery aspect of the film. So I can't even remember the character's name. Like,
I'm terrible with it.
Yeah. But the main character, he sits there and he starts trying to figure out what the hell's going on, basically. He wants to know where Pembroke is. He wants to know why he can't take Pembroke with him. He wants to know what's going on with the mystery woman with the puzzles. He wants to know what's going on with everybody. Everything is related to water in the film, too. So it's just like, he doesn't want to drink the water, but he knows that if he doesn't drink the water, he'll be dehydrated.
Well, I have, like, an unnatural fear of water. Like, I check bowls before I get in, knowing there's nothing in there, but I really do, and I think that really helps with that.
When I go swimming by myself, seriously, like, if I'm doing laps, I have to stop a moment and let my heart, like, slow down, because for some reason I think there's a shark in the water.
I get like that.
It's a freaking swimming pool, people. There, you can see the bottom, and yet I feel there's a shark in
I
there.
like to tie mine back to Nightmare on Elm Street again with the whole bathtub. I feel like maybe I started young with the fear for water.
So, A Cure for Wellness, definitely a good watch. No spoilers on this one. I am not spoiling the end because the end was ridiculously good and you have to see it. It is worth it. It is a fantastic film. You said you watched it too, right?
Yeah, my first fear with it was, they're trying to get a little too weird with it, and I was afraid to have another, like, My Stories Today, where they just didn't explain enough and it ended really weird, but it didn't. It was fantastic. There was just enough weirdness, just enough scariness, just enough mystery, and it gave you just enough of the story, like,
and
to
it
follow
actually explained the ending.
Yes.
Like, what is going on?
I definitely would recommend this movie.
There was a reveal.
Yes, you weren't just left going, what the hell just happened? I have no idea. Like, there was definitely an ending, and that was definitely positive. Definitely like 10 times.
It's okay. So my honorable mentions, so these are films that I watched from about the time of Texas Frightmare to about a couple weeks ago. Little Evil on Netflix.
I want to see that.
It was
nice.
just
Now I've heard this from a lot of people. It's back and forth. It is a comedy with
Yeah.
horror elements. So when you're going in, don't expect it to be straight horror. What I liked about it was the hints of all the other horror films that it was playing off of. And I like the concept that all of the evil children in all of the fucking movies with evil children have step parents. Like, that's what this film was about, and I thought it was hilarious. The main little evil boy in the commercials, you'll notice, is the Omen. That's the first play on it. But there's so much more in it, and I really like that aspect of it as well. No spoiler alert on this one. It was just a fun film. And, again, don't expect super horror elements in it. There wasn't a ton. It was more about the comedy. The characters, they were all comedians, nearly.
I'm not a super comedy person. I'm really not. So
yeah,
I think that's where it lost me.
Yeah, I think that's definitely.
I'm definitely not too into the comedies. Now I love the old like 80s B horror movies that aren't scary. They're funny, but
like
I think it was just straight up
shotgun.
like too much comedy for me. And I don't know. I like the actors, and if they make any more, I'll check stuff out. But I don't know. It definitely wasn't my favorite.
I think it was more on the funny side than like our movie Cootie that we all love. Cooties was a fantastic comedy horror comedy, I should say, that had more horror aspect, but there was comedy in it. Plus, Rainn Wilson, oh my god, ridiculous character. Elijah Wood, ridiculous character. Fantastic film. That was not one that we've watched recently, or at least I haven't. I watched that a long time ago when it first came out. The other films that I watched, I want to jump to The Autopsy of Jane Doe. So I went into this film with absolutely no trailers, no commercials, nothing. No idea what it's about.
Really
I saw an article once about the film festival for it saying it was like the best film ever. And I was like, oh, cool. Then I didn't hear about it forever. It disappeared. Then suddenly it had a theatrical release in New York in like one theater. And I was like, that's not going to be great because I'm in St. Louis, right? So I finally get to see it. It's on, I wanted to say Amazon.
I was going to say, it says Prime.
Yeah. Okay, so Amazon. No spoilers on this one either. Fucking fantastic. You go into the film not realizing what's going to happen at all. It is a practical, supernatural film, and yeah, oh my god, I'm at a loss for words. Like, when I watched it, I was like, oh my god, everybody watch this. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's worth it. Just watch it. Like, it is so cool. Final film I'm obsessed with. I hope there's a sequel, The Tragedy Girls.
I knew you were gonna bring this up too.
Okay, so
I finally watched it. Okay, so I forgot to bring that up too. I finally watched it.
Yeah, you go first then.
So, okay, I finally watched this film. She's been obsessed with it for a month. She's like, you have to watch Tragedy Girls. You have to watch Tragedy Girls. And I'm kind of like, as feminist as I claim to be, I watch these girl power flicks and I get annoyed so easily. I know what it's gonna be like, but they almost act, they've got an air of masculinity to them. And they don't bring up just being tough chick. Like, Tragedy Girls is more
it's the feminist movie for the feminist.
Yeah, because it's like, they're tough and you can kind of tell, but it's not intimidating, it's not in your face. It's not too much.
And those masks.
Yeah, those are cool.
I'm seriously gonna make those masks. I have it on my freaking Amazon list right now.
Well, they look like marshmallow. Like,
yeah,
they don't like to keep it mellow.
No, no.
But it was cool.
Every kill in that was hilarious. There was an element of comedy to it, but in the same respect, it had a very serious feel to it.
Yeah.
What I really, really liked is is the white actress that played the main character. She was fantastic. She had this like moment where she was trying to fall in love, and her African American equivalent was like, fuck you, we're best friends forever, you can't do that kind of thing. You have to go in there and kill this guy. And it turned out to help elevate the story. So, tiny spoiler, that's all you're getting. It ends with the ability for a sequel. I've read there is going to be sequels, so I really can't wait. It feels a little on the teeny bopper side because they were in high school, but it's definitely not a teeny bopper film. Like, there's a lot of gore in there. There really is. And kidnapping a serial killer, coolest thing ever. Just saying. That's the first 5 minutes of the film, so not spoiling. That is my entire list that I can even remember, but I've probably watched a ton more. Check out The Horror Obsessed on Facebook, the group, and you will find all kinds of articles, all kinds of updates, us watching films. You talk to us about what you love in the horror world, and we will totally talk to you about it. We literally are the horror obsessed. It is not even a joke. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I was gonna say, the next episode, I promise we'll get more practice and we won't ruin every ending ever.
And I'll try not to say definitely.
This
I'm a little excited.
There's
is
a lot
definitely-
of catchphrases we're gonna have to filter out.
Yeah, this is definitely our first one. We're missing 2 of our people. One of them had heat stroke, the other had an extremely bad week, needed some chill time.
Welcome to Missouri weather and
Yeah.
Missouri
Missouri.
mentality. Like, that's how I just don't want to. Like,
Missouri is the worst, but it's the best.
that is my anxiety aesthetic. Just like, can we just not?
Can we just not?
Don't, though.
Yeah. So thank you guys for listening, and this is the Horror Obsessed. You can check us out on Instagram, Twitter. We have a leaderboard. We have Facebook group, obviously. That's the best place to catch us.